What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Umbrella Academy ending explain video featuring Cigarette Smoking Man 2, Electric Boogaloo, Jack Ruby, The Early Years, and Mulder, same but different edition. We will be breaking down the ending to Umbrella Academy Season 2 and some of the major OMG moments as I gasped so much at this season's revelations I thought I had to go and get a test. Now, I adored this season and was genuinely riveted by it. Usually I don't have the stamina to watch a whole season in 1 or 2 days, let alone Netflix dramas which can be bloated to hit the hour mark each episode, but this was all killer, no filler, literally. So if you're new, please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video. So we picked up right after the end of last season as Vanya the White Violin destroys the moon by accident, leading to one heck of a meteor show. The group tried to go back before the apocalypse happened, but end up being split across time. Well, actually, just a few years and only in Dallas, Texas, around the time of the infamous JFK assassination. So once again, the team is scattered, but this time sort of like Samurai Jack, but not really in any way at all. One problem with this, as if the situation on its own isn't a problem, but there is not only an impending Red Dawn style invasion of America by the Soviets, but we have a possible nuclear war. Luckily, 5 is given time to try and stop this happening, as Hazel, the ex-commissioned assassin, saves 5 and manages to actually give him a briefcase to use to get out of this whole situation. However, in one of the many cruel twists of fate, Nordic assassins come and kill Hazel, who actually ended up living a great life. He got to live with Agnes and lived a long and fruitful existence. But as he is shot, number 5 escapes, but the briefcase is actually damaged. And so we see each member of the group scattered throughout time. Luther has become a bare-knuckle boxer for Jack Ruby, the man who would go on to kill Lee Harvey Oswald. Diego is actually in a facility for trying to hunt down Lee Harvey Oswald. Allison is married to a civil rights organizer. Klaus is with Ben, who has inadvertently led a cult based on sporadic song lyrics and Beatles-inspired hand tattoos. And Vanya herself, well, she has not a single memory of her time causing the apocalypse or Season 1. She was hit by a car and now lives on a farm looking after a child called Harland who has special needs. Most of the siblings are stuck in 1963, just 6 days before the assassination of John F. Kennedy, a moment that changed America, causing the US to escalate the Vietnam War and just generally putting everything off kilter. Imagine where we could have been in the world. The first major revelation comes as we have a flashback showing Hazel kill the handler, but just as she's about to be created, she actually survives and heads back to the commission. However, our friendly goldfish AJ has actually replaced her, so she's now demoted to being an analyst, with Herb being her superior, but she will not stand for that very long. Now, most of the season is a blend of the siblings trying to live their life in 60s Dallas, as they all have new lives which they love, at least on the surface, and as the season rolls on, by happen chance, each of the characters find each other again, with Luther finding the wallet of the man Vanya is living with, and number 5 finds him and informs him all about the apocalypse. And Luther just says, "No, I'm not going to help." I guess they've all had enough of that apocalypse for one day. And Diego even escapes his facility with a lady called Lyla, who is, well, more on that later. 5 manages to find help in the form of a conspiracy nut. This is someone who actually managed to see every single member of the Umbrella Academy appear back in the 60s. And the key seems to be at least JFK surviving his assassination attempt and blaming the Russians for leading everything to war. Meanwhile, the world's creepiest triplets are sent by the handler to kill Vanya after trying to actually kill Diego. 5 and Diego actually see their father in the footage of the JFK assassination on the grassy knoll. The grassy knoll theory is that there was someone who shot JFK from there, with Lee Harvey Oswald being the fall guy. And this is why conspiracy theorists think that Jack Ruby shot him and was later shot himself. However, they find their dad with weird rooms and mannequins all around, but Diego is I would say unceremoniously, but it's quite ceremoniously beaten the hell out of his father just as he has the high ground, Anakin. Well, Diego decides to hesitate and he gets stabbed. Yes, he's still not living up to his father's expectations, even in the past. Klaus actually is helped to lead a cult by a bunch of wealthy women and ends up having a whole mansion to himself. And he is a new age shaman, leading people on vision quests and going around the world, but he absolutely spins out and runs away. Vanya is eventually found by number 5 and the assassins as she uses her powers on them as Allison finds Klaus. Klaus realises that he can find Dave, his love from last season, and stop him from joining the army, but throughout the season that completely fails and time changes with Dave actually joining the army earlier. A hint towards the time changes at the end. Eventually we learn that Lyla is not who she actually appeared to be, which was a sort of Helena Bonham Carter style character from Fight Club, because as a young child she was saved by none other than the Handler, as her parents were murdered by number 5 and she was trained and planted into the commission and is for all intents and purposes the daughter of the Handler. A similar situation to that of Hargreaves and the siblings, but weirdly, in a weird twist of, something, the Handler is actually more loving, and I must say the acting from these two was superb, with Lyla being one of my favourite characters this season. A close second would of course be Luther, and Klaus joint there. Number 5 then attempts to find his father again, but it is revealed he's a part of a group called the Majestic 12, a sort of Illuminati style group who manipulate everything, while number 5 now has the protection of the Handler. One criticism is that the Handler seems to switch her plans pretty much every episode. I never really get what she wants aside from the goal of self-preservation, and she's a great character, but it'd be nice if her goals were sort of made a bit more sense and we had a bit of threat from her, because I never felt like the group were sort of in danger, which is quite ironic considering the end. Now the siblings then start to visit a party being held by what they perceive as the Majestic 12, and in a bombshell they find a woman who is actually the basis for their robot mother. Over the course of the season it seems like she's the girl who knew too much, and this could have led to her being replaced by a Stepford wife robot, which is what we saw last season. After this, the subplot of Vanya on the farm rumbles on, with the mother and Vanya kissing. I can't help but feel this romance sort of came out of nowhere and suddenly progressed at an absolute breakneck speed. It would have been a lot better if there was no abusive father, in my opinion, but still, to the time, they cannot live as they would in 2019. Eventually it is revealed that each member of the siblings have an impact on JFK's death or even survival, and I don't feel like it's actually Vanya's fault for what happened, as whatever the plural for apocalypse is, are caused by everyone. Now the Handler, trying to get ahead, starts to frame Diego for the death of one of the siblings as 5 chases her and works out that yes, the Handler is still alive. Now a deal is actually struck between the two, as the Handler offers 5 a chance to take all of his family back to an apocalypse-free 2019. Just don't tell them about 2020. All he has to do is kill the secret cabal in charge of the commission, and I fully expected this to be the Majestic 12, and we've got 2 groups here which weren't really kind of looked into a bit more. This season, its themes are more family and finding out that living a life outside of your family, while sometimes works, it doesn't always work. And that while you can't pick your family, it's kind of where you should actually be. And it doesn't really delve too much into the conspiracy theory, which I think would kind of get a bit bogged down at times. Meanwhile, all of the siblings are actually invited to a meeting with their father, which is a total and utter disaster at a tiki bar which was so popular at the time in America. Now, Luther was actually stabbed emotionally many years ago when he tried to actually reach out to his father, and Diego is once again slapped down by his dad. Golden Boy is number 5, and it's clear the avenue of pursuing the father won't actually work. But this is important. They tell him what happens and how Ben died and how they were adopted. This is important for the end. Realising that this will fail, number 5 takes up the offer to kill everyone in the Lonely Lodge in Wisconsin. He asks for change to get a chocolate bar in 1982 and proceeds to eviscerate the commission. He, in my opinion here, acted very out of character. He's usually with it, a kind of sarky kind of character considering he is like 58, but he just does kind of childish sort of rebellion things and puts his finger in the cake and smashes the vending machine. Now, like I said, I feel like this secretive, importive group would have had a bit more to it had we got a bit more backstory, but ironically, there's no time for that. Backstory is weaved into the narrative, but never delved too much into. Now, I found this season to flow a lot better than the first. I found myself a bit bored during the first season, and at the time, I did prefer The Boys. The Boys was much more entertaining, but here, this second season really came into its own after the setup of last season. Now, they had a deal. Obviously, destroy the commission, and, well, what 5 did, he did it very well. However, he now has to get everyone together to assemble in a short time frame to go back to 2019. This doesn't work. The backstory of each character and their connections in Dallas are largely unimportant, with the exception to Vanya being captured by the FBI and reviving the child Harland, and he actually has some transference powers towards him. With the Handler's coup now in place, she appoints Lyla as the secret police, and actually Lyla gets Diego to join it. She's smitten, and it's clear why the Handler tried to frame Diego for the murder, or the Claymore murder, as it will get Lyla to leave him or, well, have him die. Now, one of the bigger mysteries, in my opinion, is how the pre-Roboto mother was snooping in Hargreaves' secret office and find details of JFK's parade route along with rocket schematics, which looked very interesting, and he has a vested interest in the moon and the space race, which is about to really take off, no pun intended. Let's not forget that it was actually JFK's goal to put a man on the moon, and after his death, these plans were rushed so they could beat the Soviets to the moon. One issue I have here is that how number 5 killed JFK. We knew this, and we knew this last season, and it wasn't mentioned until right at the end. I do wonder why he didn't go and get the briefcase a lot earlier. Of course, the whole side effects of meeting himself are a problem, and I really did find Tom Hopper's straight man acting hilarious in those scenes. So Diego uses the infinite switchboard and was able to see Vanya actually blow up the FBI building, leading to the war we saw in the first episode. Ben is actually able to enter Vanya's body, as he did with Klaus, and I really did like the way that the show sets up these little things. We see Klaus and Ben kind of joke around, and they kind of take control of the body, and here it sets up this, which is a testament to the writing. Now, the plan to use the briefcase of his past self goes very wrong, even as it is revealed 5 reverted to his younger self because there was just a missing decimal point. 5 doesn't shoot JFK, but we're left to presume that Lee Harvey Oswald does. And the fact that there's 2 shooters, or there were 2 shooters, well, that explains the weird bullet trajectories. JFK is dead and Hargreaves is furious. He confronts the rest of the Majestic 12 as they are happy, and this whole influence on the dark side of the moon is left intact, but he reveals himself to be an alien and kills the Majestic 12. This explains how he has lived such a long life, and in an alternate timeline in the comics, Hargreaves actually helped stop the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Hazel and Cha-Cha used those missiles to destroy the world. This also explains why Hargreaves was actually on a different planet in episode 10 of last season. In an explosive finale, the Handler and Lyla go to kill the siblings in Vanya as an army of commission agents appear, and it's revealed that Lyla can copy powers. She's sort of the rogue of the Umbrella Academy, I would say. She's actually revealed to be one of the kids born in 1989, just like the characters, all born on the same day and having powers. And she can actually mirror what people do, and as well as that, the Handler has mirrored everything that's happened with Hargreaves. Now, it's not clear if the Handler knew she had powers or not, but considering that she might have been taken around the same time that Hargreaves did, well, it might be that the Handler did know this all along. Now, they try to appeal to her, but it doesn't work, and the Handler actually kills them all, and number 5, barely alive, finally embraces his powers and is able to go to be a living time machine. He hears his father in his head about how he has to harness the powers, and he can actually physically turn back time. And, well, that happens. The assassin kills the Handler, Lyla runs off, and the team go back to 2019. However, it's all gone Pete Tong, my dudes, as there is no Umbrella Academy, only the Sparrow Academy, led by Ben. Now, there is a Sparrow Academy in the comics, with volume 4 of it being called that team's name. Things are messy as Hargreaves is alive, and the team in the past by explaining what happens in the future, altered the course of history. The Academy, or at least the Sparrow Academy, are new heroes. The Sparrows are younger than they were in the comics, with both teams face to face in the comic in sort of a cliffhanger. They're both the same age. But Hargreaves actually locked up supervillains in a different dimension in the comics, and I did wonder what happened to the rest of the children who were born on that same day. Now, it's clear there are 6 new ones. There is Ben. Now, Ben presumably was picked as he died and played no part in the recent adventures physically of the group, or it's just a major FU to the team. The big mystery will be how and why the Sparrows. It's weird that in 2019 the Sparrow Academy are still young. And what will be the mystery, and how and why does the Hargreaves have an interest in the dark side of the moon? He was an alien in the comics, and like I said, we saw him on an alien planet as his lover dies last season, so he was supposed to save the world, but I don't think we've really got to what Hargreaves was trying to save just yet, or at least what he was talking about with his lover as she dies. So let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Did you enjoy it? I loved it, and I'm biased as Gerard Way absolutely gives me life. MCR are one of my favourite bands of all the time, and I want to know what you think. So please do hit a like if you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe with the notifications on if you want more, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.